Hey, welcome to episode 12 of We Appreciate Your Ears. This episode, we have the Williams Brothers.
And we get to focus on harmony, which they're so brilliant at. They have a wonderful career. I can't wait for you to learn more about it.
They have a new album coming out called Memories to Burn on Regional Records. These guys are great. They were teen superstars as Andy and David Williams. They were even on the Partridge Family. They've worked with people like Peter Asher, who produced one of their records. So we're really excited to have the Williams Brothers here.
So please, strap on your seatbelt and get ready.
Hey, I'm Andrew. I'm the harmony singer.
And I am David, and I sing lead.
Can you explain what harmony is, how it works, what it does to music, and why people use it? And then give us a couple of examples, too.
That's a big question. I mean, harmony can be looked at both. It's basically the relationship between two or more notes. In a simple term, you can look at it vertically or you can look at it horizontally. If you're looking at it as you would on a staff of music, you'd have one note, another note on top of it, a third note, a fourth note. But it's basically the relationship between those notes in that vertical sense. In a horizontal sense, it would be how the notes relate to each other in a sort of a chord progression or a number of bars. But for our purposes here, really we're talking about two voices and the way they interact. And unless they're singing in unison, they are singing in harmony. So the record that we just made, or that we just sort of uncovered, that we discovered, that we had made, that we'd forgotten about, it takes the approach of a dual sort of lead vocal, or a melody and a harmony, mostly a third above the root note, all the way through, top to bottom.
And that's such a cool effect. It really is powerful, that the way you guys do that on the third. I love that. And it's soothing and just kind of makes me want to listen to more songs. So, that's maybe one of the powers of harmony. Just listening to you talk about it in that way, I'd never thought of it broken down like that. That's so great to hear. Just like almost like a scientific explanation of what harmony is, because for me it's almost been spiritual. I just hear a harmony and I go, oh my God, like the Beatles, or like, the great Stevie Wonder, like harmonies and oohs and backgrounds, and the Beach Boys, and that, for me it was always magic. It wasn't science. So it's interesting to hear that. I like that.
Yeah, it is kind of magic, I think that, we sort of were, we were born just at the dawn of the 60s. And so our reference points were the Everly Brothers and the Beatles. Obviously this record is influenced by the Everlys. That's just such an amazing sound, that two people that are related to each other, that are sort of cooperating with each other and finding a way to make one sound out of two voices. That's what we tried to do, not as well as the Everlys, but as well as we can do it.
Well, I think you do it great, and the Everly Brothers inspired a lot of people. Those guys were just amazing.
They certainly influenced the Beatles, and I think the Beatles were our first musical influence before the Everlys, before we heard the Everlys, because we were really young when we saw the Beatles on their debut show on Ed Sullivan. Yeah.
1964.
Yeah, so we were 5, and I think that's around when we started singing. Maybe we started when we were 4, but that shifted everything for us. Just, at 5 years old, you're not really able to articulate it, but it made us want to do that.
Yeah. So now this flows perfectly into our next question, which is harmony natural for the two of you? It seems like it is if you started that young, really. It's almost like, breathing or walking. Do you already hear the potential use of a harmony as you're building a song? or is it an addition in the later stages of the work, or as you're writing it, are you guys already kind of doing the harmonies?
No, I think it's integral at the ground floor. I was always the harmony singer. David was always the melody singer. Those roles were just sort of baked in. Apparently, my father tells us that he was teaching us how to sing when we were in the crib, because he was a harmony singer. He came from singing with his brothers. They had 4 brothers, so they had 4-part harmony. I do think that that's why somehow he made the decision, well, this one's going to sing the melody, and then this one's going to sing the harmony. It came at a time where I was, a baby. At least that's what he tells me, because I can't remember it. But I don't think there was ever a discussion about it. It was just, so it is very, it's just very, very natural for us.
Well, I wanted to add, too, that like the Beatles and the Everly Brothers, your harmonies are mixed higher in the songs. I love that, where you can actually hear the harmony. In modern music, a lot of times the tendency is to put the focus in the mix on the lead vocal and have the harmonies kind of buried down there with the other support instruments. And I really like that you celebrate, like sometimes it sounds, honestly, from the listener's perspective, like there's 2 lead vocalists, kind of like it did with the Beatles. Like sometimes it was hard to tell who was singing lead and who was singing harmony. You got these, and your tones really are nice together, like that they're singular.
Thanks.
So, is that conscious? Do you go to the mixer and say, "Hey, man, turn or woman, turn that up, please. I would like that louder." Or is it? Do you guys do that? Or
well, I think that I think on this record we may have even sung on the same mic. So we're sort of creating the blend. This record was all cut live too. So everybody was very close together in my little studio, and we probably didn't even mic the drums. It's probably bleed. I may have put a mic on the kick drum.
Oh, that's great to hear. It sounds so cool and sounds very real too.
Yeah, I think it is real. We got really lucky with the mic placement. I don't think we were trying to make a record. I think we were kind of doing pre-production. I was just thrilled when Marvin Etzioni called, during the lockdown and said, I found these tunes, check them out. I've got 4 of them. Do you have any more? And I said I didn't even realize we'd recorded those 4. So it was brand new to me. And then when I went into my storage room and I found a box that said Williams Brothers Country, we found the rest of the tunes. We had recorded them, as I say, live. Somehow the blend was just there. So it was just sort of a lucky accident on this one. And then we just added some sort of tape slap on top of it to make it sound more vintage.
I would have never thought that album, it sounds so good. I can't even imagine getting those all on one take, like each of those songs.
Wow.
Not that each one was your first take, but to get a full take that sounds that, like there's not a thing out of place.
Wow.
Who in your family, who was the most influential and who was the least influential musically to you as you were growing up?
Well, I think my father was the most influential because he was always singing and he taught us how to sing. He was a manager in the music business. He managed so many great people like Roger Miller and Chad and Jeremy. Who else, Andy?
Well, he managed Ray Stevens. Later he got into television and was involved with Mary Tyler Moore and
Bob
Newhart show. This is all the early 60s, right? So he's driving us to school every morning and we're turning on the radio, 93 KHJ AM radio. We're hearing what I still consider to be my favorite music, and that we would all sing along in the car. So his whole sort of history is from the 30s and the 40s and 50s, but we were experiencing the 60s together. He wore love beads, and
he was very hip.
He was trying to be hip. But, you know, our mother wasn't musical at all. So it was all from my father's side of the family. We would go sometimes to our uncle is Andy Williams, this kind of the crooner from the 50s and 60s and 70s. And so we would go to his rehearsals and we'd be sitting there as young kids experiencing what it was like to hear an orchestra at very close range, which is, I can't tell you how, you know, talking about harmony, you know, you're hearing how the horns work with the strings, work with the piano and the rhythm section. And that to me was, you know, as much as the big bang of the 60s, you know, seeing him with orchestra really kind of blew my mind.
What an experience.
Yeah, it was really a privilege, you know. And then later we sort of learned, you know, as kids, we didn't really know the history of my father and his brother's career, but it was quite a, you know, celebrated moment. You know, they would have to learn 4-part harmony as kids, and they would go on the radio every morning and sing 4 new songs in 4-part harmony. So they were very disciplined. That I think that kind of discipline to try to get things right was just sort of, we just got it by osmosis, you know.
I love that song, People Are People.
Oh, thanks.
And that yeah, what a cool song. And now, you know, the chorus harmonies, can you talk about that? Just there's a real dynamic on that song. And that's one of the things harmony does really well, is it creates a dynamic from verse to chorus, you know,
Our manager at the time, Peter Asher, produced that one record, and he was a harmony singer, so he loved that about us. And I can't remember that we were intentional about the harmonies. I think once again, my brother Andrew just always came up with beautiful harmonies, and it wasn't something we really worked on. It just because we had sung together our whole lives. Andy would always just kind of sing the right note. So, Andy, what do you remember about that song in particular?
You know, you use the harmony to make the chorus pop, right? To make the chorus jump out from the verse. So, as I recall, I think you sang all the verses, David, right?
Yeah.
I remember more writing the thing, you know, when coming up with the guitar lick, and then having a little beatbox. And then as I remember playing that over and over again, and then somebody drove by. I sort of lived very close to the road, and somebody's radio was up with a classical piece going on. So I heard these violins and cellos and things, and it worked against a sort of beatbox thing we were doing. So we brought that element in, sort of a little bit of a classical cello thing. I don't know, David and I just wrote that together. We probably, as we normally do, break into harmony on the choruses if we don't start from the verses. That was a little bit of a departure for us, using a little bit of a sort of a modern drum beat from a drum machine. That record is called The Williams Brothers, and it's by the Williams Brothers on Warner Brothers.
Can we jump to this record that's just coming out? It's coming out on Regional Records. One of the songs that Zach and I were both listening to and really liked is one that you wrote. She's Got That Look in Her Eyes.
Right. That's a really old song it was one of our first songs that we ever wrote. That was, we were, you know, heavily influenced by the Everly Brothers when we wrote that. What year would you say we wrote that?
I think we were probably late teens, you know.
Yeah.
When we wrote, so we sort of had this teen career that ended when we were 16. We were like 12 to 16, and then we sort of, once we realized that we had a teen career at age 16, and we realized, what are we doing? We stopped. And then we sort of started writing songs. So at 16, we started writing songs. And then around 19, we started writing some pretty good songs. and that was one of them. We were starting to sing background vocals on people's records. I remember, we had sung on the Plimsolls' "Million Miles Away," those background harmonies. When the producer was producing, the next record he did was T-Bone Burnett, and I remember us going in. He invited us over to T-Bone's house, and we sang "She's Got That Look in Her Eyes" for T-Bone, and he was like, "Oh my God, that's great. Do you want to sing on my record?" So that song got us that job on T-Bone's Proof Through the Night record.
Hey, could we play that song right now? Would that be all right if we played that for everyone?
Sure. I'd love it. It's probably the first time it's ever been on the radio. Let's do it.
She's got that look in her eye. I know it well. I know that other guys under spell. She's got that look in her eye. I know she's saying goodbye. She's got that look in her eyes. She could never lie too well. She's got that look in her eyes. It's not hard to tell. I know she's biding her time to say farewell. She's got that look in her eye. I know she's saying goodbye. She's got that look in her eyes. She could never lie too well. She could never lie too well. She could never lie too well.
Yeah.
All right. Now that's from that session where that was recorded completely live, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. I think that was,
That's
great.
amazing.
I think we probably played that song twice, and that was the second take.
Wow.
But we were working with such great musicians, that Greg Leese is on lap steel, and then of course Marvin is on bass, and Don Heffington is on drums. So, I mean, these guys are just so amazing. We'd play a song once or twice, and they would just jump right on
Yeah.
it.
That outro is awesome, too.
So this is now coming out on Regional. What's the name of that record?
It's called Memories to Burn, which I think,
That's right, Memories to Burn. And that comes out on, I think, October 21st, 2022.
that's
Correct.
right. Yeah, it'll be up on all your favorite, streaming services.
Are there CDs available? Can people get a CD? Those people that like tangible items?
There should be. If it's not gonna be in October, but we'll see what the demand is, and we'll hopefully there'll be CDs out soon.
Excellent.
On this initial CD that kind of went out to radio, I heard that there's been some good response overseas in England and Ireland. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's exciting because I want to go over there. So I'm glad they're loving it.
You know what? Zach and I want to go over. We were talking with Glenn Phillips. He wants to go over. We've been working with Katrina Swift over there. And what we should all do is all be there at the same time and play a show.
Let's do it.
An ensemble
That sounds
show.
great.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be great?
Zach, you can play drums. Brad, you can play bass.
Sounds great. Totally.
Yeah,
We're
I could
down.
do that. And then we could get. I would love to hear you
Yeah,
two
and
singing
he-
with Glenn.
Yeah.
I think.
I love Glenn.
Glenn's got a new album coming out too, which is we got to hear a preview of that. It's
Yeah.
really amazing. So when you get a chance to hear that, please do. I'll send you a link when it comes out.
Oh, great!
Thank
I
you.
would love that. I love Glenn
Yeah.
and Toad. I did strings on their last record, I think, or one before the last one.
Oh, wow. That's
Right,
great.
yeah.
Was that on New
Interesting.
Constellation?
That's right. Yeah,
I love that album.
we hadn't.
Beautiful.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I'm going to say goodbye to everyone. Thank you very much for being with us here today. And
Yeah, for
really, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you, gentlemen. Episode 12 of We Appreciate Your Ears featuring the Williams brothers. It's been an awesome conversation. Learned a lot.
Take care.
Adios.
Okay, bye. This is Brad Nack.
And this is Zach Madden of We Appreciate Your Ears. Brought to you by WAYE, Santa Barbara, New York, London. Bye, Brad.
Okay, bye, Zach.